Picking my donor was the most intense part, I would say, of the, I guess, preparation phase of being a single mother by choice. And oddly enough, going into it, I thought that would have been the easiest thing. So I was saving it for like the last thing that I do, after doing like finding out what medicine I gotta take and housing, like all the other stuff that comes with being a single mother by choice. I thought that picking the donor was going to be the easiest. And it wasn't. It was really intense. But I did make it very, very fun. So once, I asked around in my single mother by choice community group and asked some what sperm bank did people use, or some of the factors that they considered. And so I settled on a particular sperm bank. And once I subscribed, you kind of see what options that they have there and how you can filter and sort it, and what sort of information they have about the donor. And from there, you can filter and sort and decide what's important to you. So for me, my criteria was first and foremost a healthy donor, right? So going through a sperm bank, they sort of vet the donors, right? And so they do genetic testing. And so for me, finding a donor with a clear genetic background, or just like minimal stuff like acne, I could live with that. I had acne, but you know, like if there was cancer in the family, high blood pressure, those kind of things. So, for me, looking at their genetic background, make sure that they're healthy was like first and foremost. And then for me, another important thing was a known donor. And what that means is when my daughter turns 18, if she wants to meet her donor, that he's open to being reached out to, right? That he's open to that interaction. Because there's some donors that decide, hey, look, I'm just giving you this gift. Don't reach out to me for anything. So for me, choosing a donor that was open to it was good. Now I hope to raise my daughter, or I pray that she doesn't feel the need to reach out to her donor or feels like she's lacking anything. But I want to give her that option. I want that option to be available to her, to know that if she wants to know a little more about her donor, that he's open to it. And so that's the known donor. That's another criteria. Known pregnancies. So that he had like his sperm contributed to a successful pregnancy before with another family. So for me, that was like, all right, that means the sperm works. So let's do that. And that he had enough inventory so that if it didn't work, if my IVF didn't work the first time, second time, whatever, that I can always reorder inventory, or when I'm ready for my next child, that they'd have enough inventory. Because there's some donors out there like, I'm giving once, that's it, I'm not giving again. And so if you're someone who wants to have like a big family and you want all your kids to have the same genetic makeup, you want a donor that has enough inventory. So that was my criteria. There are definitely other things, religion, ethnicity, eye color, height. And I used some of those things, like eye color was what I used just to bring down the number of donors, because with my core criteria, there was hundreds and hundreds of donors, and it could be very overwhelming. Like I said, it ended up being really intense for that reason, because it's like you're a slew of donors show up, and it's like, oh my god, I have to go through all this. And then there's FOMO, like fear of missing out. So it's like, oh, what if I pick this donor, but then this? And I remember seeing someone posted in the group once that their doctor told them, just pick a donor. Like if you're having a one night stand, like who would you pick? And that kind of makes sense, right? Because I mean, you think about if you were to have, get pregnant the traditional way, chances are you meet somebody and you don't do all this genetic testing and all this stuff, this background, so there's that. But being that information was available, my decision was a little bit of, who would I have a one night stand with? Not that kind of girl, by the way. No judgment, but I've never had a one night stand. But who would I have a one night stand with? And like every single criteria, right? It's somewhere in the middle is where my decision making was. So then once I narrowed it down to about 5 donors that I liked, I had what was called Lydia's baby daddy picking party. So I put together a slideshow. I know I'm a nerd. So I put together a slideshow and invited some of my girlfriends. And we had like a little virtual brunch where I kind of went through the donors and they helped me select my donor. And what was so fun about it was that I literally thought my girls were just going to be like, 30 minutes, right? Like, oh, he's hot, go ahead, pick him. But when I tell you my girls were so into it, it took about like an hour and a half, 2 hours to pick my donor, because like they were asking questions or like, no, look, put up, what about this? What about that? So yes, I had a little brunch party to help me to have my close friends help me pick my donor. And that was a fun way to get my friends and my close, my loved ones involved in the process and the journey with me. So I didn't feel so alone, because as a single mom by choice, it could be lonely at times, right? So, for me, having my friends embark on that journey with me from early on was very helpful. So that's how I pick my donor and the criteria that I use. But my suggestion is to look at the sperm bank, see what information is available, and decide what's important for you. I think the genetic testing should be like minimum that you check that they're healthy. That should help with your criteria, and again, make the journey fun. Like involve your friends, your loved ones, your family, and make it fun.